Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Fireside Casts. I am Eki in the booth with the one and only Wild Rumpus, bringing you some coverage of the 10th. The 10th. We've hit double digits now. The 10th Newbie Cup. I am hyped as hyped can be. How are you feeling, Mr. Rumpus?
Yeah, I'm also looking forward to this. I mean, it's definitely a cool thing to have these newbie cups become such a staple. Um, yeah, just giving people the opportunity to play TF2, to try out sixes without necessarily the hard time commitment that a regular season entails is definitely a good thing.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's something a lot of people gloss over when they maybe read about the Newbie Cup. Maybe they're interested in competitive, but the only things they know about it are, that you have to go sign up for a league and play a full season for it. And I think people see the Newbie Cup and it's like they maybe assume it's the same thing. But yeah, I think it's a fantastic thing that, it's just a couple days. I think this is the first one, I think, where they're doing a new structure for the event, or at least the first one I've been a part of, that they're doing a new structure for, where we have group stages today and tomorrow, and then we have playoffs on, I believe, the 13th and 14th. So this is a new structure they're trying, which I think will be much better for all the new players involved as well. So, or my bad, 10 and 11th, not 13th and 14th. I don't know what I thought was going on 13th and 14th, but on the 10th and 11th. So I think it's a really good thing for these new players to be able to just get involved with sixes in some way, at least see if they like it, and they don't have to commit to a full season. So I mean, I've always sung the praises of the Newbie Cup. I think it's a fantastic thing, and I'm just happy to see it's hit double digits, to be honest with you.
Yeah, true. And we are in the server with two teams. Why don't we go ahead and introduce them? I'll go ahead and take Yellow Babber, who we have Joe, Real, and Pizza Hut on Scouts, Snower, who I'm actually friends with, and Kitchen Sink on the two soldiers. Lazy Guy D is the demo, and then Flaming on Medic.
Sounds like a pretty good roster. I guess before I go over the roster for GOOB, do you know the inside scoop for Snower at all?
Yes, I am well aware. I've played Among Us with him and his older brother Slugmundo. So TF2 definitely runs in this family. We'll see how he performs.
All right, that's got that Among Us tech with him. I guess it's fitting. He he is playing Roamer, so maybe it'll work out for him.
Mm-hmm.
But on the roster for GOOB, your scouts are going to be Awesome Guy 1414. Powerful name right there. Your other scout will be the Dredge. Your soldiers are going to be Small and Xbox. Your demo will be Peepsel, and your med will be Krissy.
Yep, and as per usual, we are on process. Very standard map for new play, I suppose. I'm not sure what this iteration of Newbie Cup's map pool is, but it's usually pretty straightforward. Couple 5 CPs with a Koth mixed in, usually Bagel. So I'm sure these teams are familiar on a multitude of maps, but definitely quite comfortable here on process.
Yeah, and I mean, like I say every time we talk about process or we mention process in the Newbie Cup, it is the sixes map. This is where you learn your fundamentals, you learn the basics of pretty much everything, you learn pretty much how to think about doing a rollout so you can improvise on other maps, so you don't have to, have someone tell you over and over again, this is how you do the rollout. If you know the process rollout, you can kind of theory craft it with pretty much every other map, especially if you're roamer, because every map has some kind of deep roamer super high nuclear bomb you can do or something like that. I mean, this is just the map where everybody goes to learn this is where everybody takes their first little baby steps, pretty much. It's the most common pug map. I'm pretty sure, I mean, I don't remember how long Process has been played for, but if I had to venture a guess, I would say probably since the inception of 6v6, it has been played at least relatively consistently.
Yeah, definitely a very long-standing map. That being said, I mean, as far as history tells us when it comes to these newbie cups, usually the teams that do the best are the teams that just play the most and sort of practice. Because especially in that sort of early stages of learning the format, honestly, it's just a matter of putting in the time and getting used to things. Because, I mean, you can go into sixes with 2,000 hours or, 10,000 hours, and you're honestly on a more even playing field than you might expect. And it's really about putting the time in after that point, after that transition, that you really see those fast improvements. And yeah, the teams that put in the work, the teams that scrim regularly, tend to rise to the top here.
And I would have to agree with that. And I think, venturing back just briefly for the map pool mention, I think for the first time, and again, I don't know if this is like a first time thing, but pretty sure, at least in my time doing the Newbie Cup, and I've been covering the Newbie Cup since Newbie Cup 6, I believe, they have never played Metalworks, I think, unless my memory is failing me, but I don't think they've played Metal before. And we're seeing that in the next round after this. I'd also just like to mention quickly that this is a best of one game. So whoever wins Process wins this round of the group stage. And then we'll move on to the second round, which will be on Metalworks, which, sometimes I love it. Sometimes I hate it. More often than not, I hate Metalworks, but it's growing on me. It's earning a special place in my heart as a map I can enjoy every so often.
Yeah, I mean, Metal is an interesting map. I honestly, I don't know if I love it or hate it, because I enjoy the mid a lot, and the transitions are kind of long, which is rough, going from walking all the way through valley to alley to pressure for a sack, only to have to back all the way up. It's just kind of annoying as a demo. But if I were to summarize Metal in sort of one encapsulation, it's probably the map most often where a team loses a match because they try multiple times and fail every time to push into last. Yeah. That last can be really tough. It's not the most intuitive to push into with Uber advantage, and that can be kind of rough. So we'll have to see, but if a Newbie Cup team here can really just scramble together a halfway decent Metalworks hold, sentry gun up, especially if they're good at like a gun pyro hold, then we're going to see that team in all likelihood hold many last attempts.
Yeah, I 100% agree, but I do think we're going to be going live relatively soon. I see some buzz in the chat about teams being ready and all that, and we do have a team erupt here. Not sure which one hit it. Looks like it's going to be, if I could scroll up, it looked like, I think that was going to get a yellow Babber that rupt first, but I don't think... I think we're going live soon. I think it's about 90 seconds out if I had to take a wild guess, somewhere around that. But I think on the topic of Metalworks, I think that's actually going to be a very challenging map, especially for newbies, because like you said, a lot of times when teams lose games or rounds on Metal, it's because they try again and again, but they just can't break the last hold. And I think for newbies who are just now getting into, the flow of sixes and, just now learning how things work and just now figuring things out for themselves, I think it's going to be very difficult for them to kind of cobble together some kind of last push unless they, have practiced it routinely, which, I assume at least a good half of these teams have practiced all of the maps routinely as much as they possibly can. But I think even still, with all that practice, it's just because of their inexperience, Metalworks poses a very different kind of challenge, because, like you said, those lasts are just so painful to deal with.
Yeah, another aspect of the map that's just not at all intuitive is from mid into second. Like, House feels like a sort of choke point and combo oriented place to maneuver around, but it's really not at all. It functions much more like the flank, which is weird because usually the flank is like kind of on the side of things. and not in the direct line of action. But in Metalworks, you're usually better off pressuring through alley. You're usually better off maneuvering your combo around to get better pressure in, and House just isn't usually the best for that. So we'll have to see. Obviously, we're not on Metalworks on this map, but in the future, something to keep in mind. Obviously, these teams are paired up with coaches who are very familiar with Metalworks, but we'll see how much that translates.
Exactly. And I think something else to mention is that Snakewater, very stalematey map, but definitely a little bit easier for newbies to kind of pick up and, figure out how things work out. I think it's easy for anyone to kind of pick up how Snakewater works, at least until you get to last, because that's where the understanding pretty much everywhere starts to crumble. I mean, I've seen some invite games where it feels like, the players have just forgotten how to push last. I think it's just the curse of Snakewater, to be honest with you, but it's one of those maps that's easier to pick up and learn and figure out how it works. And I think we're going to see a similar situation with Metal, where they maybe pick up the first 2 points easily but struggle with the last. But that said, we're going to be going live round 1 of the group stage between Yellow Babber and GOOB here on Process. Coming into it, what are you looking at to see what's starting off this mid?
Well, we immediately see Smole going for, oh man, the fast roll. Wow. Landed on height and then just walked off, tried to get the pack, but not too many players there shooting at them, so that's going to be an early kill. And honestly, Yellow Babber playing this pretty well, just positioning the height, not getting too crazy, but now the bombs come out.
Oh, it's nuclear.
Yep, stuck in that corner. Krissy just barely
They have a scout and
there.
a demo pick here.
Yeah, and it could have been way more. There were a lot of people quite weak. Krissy might still be caught on the retreat. We'll have to see.
Looks like they do get away there, but Snower showing up quick with the 3K. And it does look like Kitchen Sink going to be fading towards Al-Qaeda here, just trying to get some vision, get some space for his team, make sure that we all know what's going on, what's happening around this part of town. But it does look like, given that the Ubers are evening out, we're going to have to see a little bit of a stalemate on 2. Maybe Snower going for some kind of sack soon, and it looks like that's what they're going to do. They're going to be landing high, but does get piped by Peepsill here. Will go down. Not quite able to find anything out of it, and that will be Yellow Babber backing up in anticipation for a counter from GOOB.
Yup. We got Lazy Guy holding choke with the stickies. And team's actually positioned kind of on this pack. So far, no countersack has been sent. Mr. Ito trying to take a 1v1 with Kitchen Sink, who actually wins it. Did have the advantage of the pack, but was basically full HP by the time that was all said and done. So with that 1v1 for Kitchen Sink, that should basically be the countersack.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, with that counter sack there, that opens up the possibility for another sack coming in from Snower, and that's exactly what they're going to do. They're going to be going in deep, but they go a little too deep, and they will get punished for it. Looks like Kitchen Sink going to be coming in off the tail end of that. Off timing, knocks downward direct, gets the force, and now it looks like we're going to be seeing an exchange here. Maybe not the best time to go in and die for a sack, but it works out for his team, and they're going to be able to waddle forward and take second, most likely. But I would be... I would be surprised if they're able to hold on to 2, given they're down 2 players, especially being down a scout here. I think it would only make sense for GOOB to try and push out. But I mean, they've got Jameer Billy up on NG. It looks like they're committing to the last one.
They are very much staying on last. And you are right. I mean, the fact that both soldiers died for the force and it turned into an exchange, in that post, GOOB should be favored. They have the numbers advantage. Ubers were popped at roughly the same time, so as long as you're not straight up feeding when your Uber fades, should be a straightforward refight, especially with the late kill on, I think it was Pizza Hut, died on bats. But no, that's a sort of nuance that was not caught up on. And actually, look at this build check.
Gonna be a bomb coming in from Lazy Guy. We'll get the sentry and a lot of damage out for it. Peepsill and Awesome Guy gonna die trying to defend that last. And unfortunately for GOOB, they just crumbled. Their defense completely blown to smithereens by Lazy here. And that's just a successful last push. That's just what you want to see by throwing yourselves in deep, taking a quick push, just pretty much nuking everyone before you even get into the last is really just what you want your Uber to do. So the players that come in can get that cap time. I think some would call that textbook, but I believe this is going to be Small trying to go in deep again. Will get taken down. by Lazy Guy, continuing the kill streak from last round, I suppose. Going to be picking up small right off the bat for it. Pretty stalemate mid, at least for the time being. Peepsel pretty low. Could get taken down by just one pellet, is probably going to be able to waddle away, but no! Gets taken down, Jameer dying as well. It's just Krissy and Awesome trying to get out, but big bomb from Snower. The chase is too strong, and they will lose their beam on full disad now for GOOB.
Yeah, this is rough. We do have Awesome Guy building the gun. I expect this time around that Red's going to be better prepared for the Uber, because last round should have just been dead evens. It was an exchange, but yeah, Yellow Babber did a good job of just hard building and had the confidence to build check as well, which works very well in lower levels of play. We do have the heavy setup with the sentry. That being said, Krissy kind of far forward, so is Peepsil. They will back up to heaven here, and yeah, this is definitely a much more robust hold against the Uber.
I do like that they don't try and keep a scout up to build this. They know they're on full disad. They want to commit to the hold. They lose their heavy early. They also lose their demo here, so they have to really rely on their soldiers, their projectiles to get good spam and keep people off the point, but they're just not going to be able to do that even with those players alive. They just don't have the health. They don't have the manpower to stay on top of the point, and they will lose it. Second round going in favor of Yellow Babber. And we're going to be going on to the third mid of the game so far. It's only been about 5.5 minutes, so very quick, very dominant performance from Yellow Babber so far, but I think GOOB has it in them to make this much, much closer.
Yeah, and I mean, the fact that they lost a soldier instantly, both mids so far, has not really shaded the game too well for them this time around. Definitely a much more conservative mid, although Small will be going in, gets some damage. Actually, no, it does not hit Flaming very much. So that is yet another mid where nothing really happening and a soldier dying on red. Here comes the double bomb, though, both landing on Krissy.
Oh, it's nuclear!
Snower goes down, 15 HP on the med. Demo will die and choke, 3 kills for 2. So Yellow Babber will slow down here a little bit. Well, they want to peak choke, but nonetheless, still a mid-win for them.
I mean, with how aggressive they're posturing themselves, I wouldn't be surprised if as soon as they got their players, they just ripped some kind of exchange into 2. And I think that's exactly what they're going for. They're just trying to take as much space as possible right now, which I really, really like. Too often I see a lot of teams just rip the Uber in and try and send it deep without, having any space, and then they get collapsed on very, very hard. I really like that Yellow Babber is taking their time with this and making sure they can actually get in effectively. Does it look like we have some good pressure, or actually a good
got the force.
Yeah,
Snower's behind as well. This is kind of scary for Red.
Yeah, this isn't looking good.
Yeah, they're just walking forward. They do use, actually, presumably got forced or something, but got 2 kills now with this Uber. Running into last, getting a third. Brutal. This is really just a matter of making sure 2 gets capped, and you're in a decent enough position to pressure the point on last when that happens. So we do see a lot of damage on Awesome Guy and Krissy. Last 2 ones alive. Looked like Small went in for a play before things were really set up there. And man, the steamroll is kind of still going. Yellow Babber, despite not instantly getting that pick on mid, still able to just immediately get a force on 2 and convert it.
I mean, what I did like from GOOB, at least in that last minute, is that they showed a little bit more restraint. They didn't send Small in deep, but they're going to go ahead and do that same thing again. They were anticipating it this time. Small does get the pack and will live, contrary to the previous couple mids. Does look like Small, very low now, caught in his own sad corner, will get taken down for it, unfortunately. Just not quite able to get what they wanted done. It looks like Mr. Ito going to go down as well. And now it's all on GOOB to just get out of choke. They're sitting inside for so long, though. Good bomb from Snower will take down
Peepsel on the flank. Trying to get the med does not. So with the scout capping, it's going to be even numbers here on 2. And against 2 scouts, probably won't be too successful if Kitchen Sink were to just rip a sack here. So things should even out and slow down here on mid. But so far, I mean, we've seen very successful sack attempts out of Yellow Babber. I mean, they might be not 2 for 2, but they've definitely been getting forces pretty regularly.
Yeah, And I did like the attempt to try and get in from the flank by Pizza Hat there, trying to take down Krissy just before they got Uber, or at least get the force. But Kitchen Sink will get Peepsel, does get traded out. Snower going to go down to small here. Looks like a big bomb coming in from Kitchen Sink. Lands onto Krissy. 2 rockets. If only they didn't pop, it would have been a nice drop to add to the clip collection, add to the montage. But this Uber is looking so much better for Yellow Bebber. They piped down Krissy, and now Small going to go down as well. 2 players left alive for the side of GOOB. They do have Peepsel spawning in a little bit early, so they'll be able to have stickies on the point, potentially on a doorway, to maybe catch someone in on an off-timed, maybe some kind of trap or something. But looks like they're just going to hold as hard as they can, get ready for the push they feel is inevitable. They are down a good bit of Uber, but I think I feel like it might be just a little too late, I think, for Yellow Bebber. I don't know if they'll rip this 30 ad
I think they're
Uber
definitely
at all.
playing too. Their building wasn't fantastic. Oh, this is an interesting off-time and counter-sack from Small. That is a pick, and that kind of lines up with when Yellow Bebber want to take this Uber. We do have the gun heavy on last. Now, this heavy positioning is pretty forward. I mean, you're definitely a target for the Uber, which in some cases is nice, but in other cases, I mean, if you just die to slow down the Uber, and the Uber just wanted a kill anyway, so you're kind of providing it for them. Yeah, we do see Jameer going down on heavy. Gun gets taken out just as normal. Ooh, but Lazy Guy dying to the det on point. Oh, but the kills are rolling in. Uber gets popped, though, so it really is all about this post at this point.
They know the scout is calling in. They're going to be able to find Joe Real as well. And I think this may potentially be some... Ooh, maybe I spoke a little too soon. Caster's Curse. We do see Krissy trying to go in. But unfortunately for Krissy, Snower going to be there to take him down at the last second. And I think the problem there, or at least, I don't want to say the main problem, but a big catalyst for what enabled Yellow Bebber to be able to push in and dominate that last so effectively was that off-timing sack. You never want to sack out of last, especially if you're holding on that full disad. Just stay alive and be there for your team so you can maybe, just maybe, be able to have a larger impact on the whole.
Yeah, so we are looking at yet another mid. Some attempted height control, but that gets really shut down by the blue demo. And immediately 2 soldier kills yet again. And Peep's still quite low as well. GOOB are staying in here. They probably should have been out, because at this point we see Pizza Hat, on the flank. And this time does confirm that medic kill. At this point, whether these red scouts live or die, really not that meaningful to Yellow Bebber. All they're really looking to do is set up an Uber into last, because as we can see, 2 completely free.
Mm-hmm. This is looking like a pretty dominant showing from Yellow Bebber here. Only 12 minutes have passed and they're already up 4. Doesn't mean it's not winnable for GOOB. Absolutely could be in reverse sweep territory. We are in the infinite overtime config. I think also a first for the Newbie Cup here, given that it's spread out over a few more days, so we can actually afford to have that timing. But we are going to see the Uber ripped early. Gun does take a little bit to go down. Heavy still alive, at least for the time being. Will get taken down as well. Jameer and Small being dead. No sentry. 2 players down. Now 3 as Peepsel stands on top of the point trying to body block, but it looks like it's just not enough. And Can I Get a Yellow Bebber is going to walk home with the Dubski on process, winning their first match in only 12.5-ish minutes.
That was crazy meat grinder on point. We had... Oh man, I hope that giant plane flying by is not too loud. I think it was very loud. Sorry, there's complete meat grinder on point. There's like 10 people total, just all fighting for a look at that capture time.
Yeah, I think that plane flying by was their victory jet. It was on the way to go pick up all the players on Yellow Bebber. So, but I mean, yeah, it was just a very dominant showing from Yellow Bebber. They were just able to capitalize on a lot of mistakes that GOOB was making, throwing players in for a sack that probably didn't need to happen. It was maybe off time, or they're just caught out of position. Just a bunch of unfortunate circumstances that, eventually kind of built up to that loss. But I think GOOB should be able to win their next game, or at least take what they, lost from here, look over it, improve on it. And the next game they take, I think it'll be much, much closer.
Yeah. I wonder. Let me see. Surely there are logs from this.
I would imagine there were. Let me see. It would be a...
I've got them here. I will share them.
Oh my goodness. Sharing your logs with me? How polite, Mr. Rumpus. Alright, let's take a little look-see at these things here. And... Ooh, mama. Ooh, these are some... I mean, it was a very quick game, so I guess damage numbers will be a little inflated, I suppose, just, from the fact that it's kind of hard not to have a high DPM when a game goes this quick, unless you're, like, playing back and you're playing for picks or something. But topping the charts at highest DPM is going to be Pizza Hat at 334, going 14, 9, and 4, doing a lot of cleanup crew work, doing a very good job at doing the cleanup crew work as well. Pretty much doing janitor roleplay in this game, I think, would be the easiest way to describe it, because there was just so much damage coming out. But it's also, his damage was so high, so they're also taking a lot of fights as well, and just they're just very successful in those fights. I mean, it seems like all around they just played very well, not only Pizza Hat, but again, Yellow Bebber in general. But
yeah, I generally agree with that. We saw they were just pretty dominant on a lot of those team fights, which tended to just be mid fights and last pushes with the odd second point exchange in between. Honestly, I think that, there was probably some DM difference at play there, but also it seemed like Yellow Bebber were just more confident in taking those fights. Because a lot of the time, GOOB, it seemed like, especially on those mids, for example, they were kind of just showing up and waiting for what felt like they were just waiting to lose rather than making something happen, right? And I mean, if the passive mids aren't working, then honestly, like double bombing, walking at the other team, getting aggressive, stuff like that is a viable plan. And not only that, I mean, it's risky, of course, because you're getting aggressive, you're making things happen, but it's also a pretty easy plan to follow.
And I would also like to say that Pizza Hat dropping these numbers on flank, of all things, really, really shows how good his combo was at being able to open up opportunities and constantly give them the openings they needed to get in and make big flank plays. I mean, they were just all over, doing everything they possibly could have to get things done. I mean, there was only so much they could have done, realistically speaking, if their combo wasn't playing as well as they were. But yeah, I mean, that was a very, very good showing from Yellow Bebber. I'm excited to see what they have to show us in other games we are probably going to cover them in.
True. Yeah, besides that, what's our next match lined up?
I'm not sure if we know the next match yet, but we do know it'll be on Metalworks, interestingly enough. I think we have to wait for other teams to finish things up and just get things in order because of the way the bracket is. I believe it's Swiss, so, gotta wait for things to clear up. But that said, we will be right back. We're going to throw it to a break and figure out things as soon as we can. And once these matches are ready, we'll come back to you with some Metalworks gameplay.